The underground bunker stretched for miles beneath the mountains. It had been built 50 years ago, during a time when nations still feared each other. Now, for the first time, every nation had sent their best to the same table. Commander Tay stood at the front of the main hall. He was 51 years old, a soldier who had served in 3 wars and lost friends in all of them. His face was lined with scars, and his eyes were hard. But when he spoke, people listened. "We have 6 days left," he said. His voice echoed through the vast chamber. 6 days to find a way to survive. Around him sat the greatest minds humanity had ever produced. Scientists from every continent. Generals from every army. Engineers, doctors, pilots, and strategists. They had all come because they had received the same message. Earth needed them. Dr. Mita sat near the front. She was 38, a physicist who had spent her entire career studying energy fields and electromagnetic waves. Her colleagues called her a genius. She called herself stubborn. For the past 3 days, she had barely slept. She had been studying the alien transmission, pulling it apart piece by piece, looking for anything useful, and she had found something. "Commander," she said, raising her hand. "I need to show everyone something." Tay nodded. "Go ahead, Doctor." Mina stood and walked to the large screen at the front of the room. She connected her tablet and pulled up a series of complex diagrams. Most of the people in the room could not understand them, but they could see that something important was hidden in the data. When the aliens sent their message, Mina explained, they used a transmission frequency that was unlike anything we have ever seen. It was powerful enough to reach every device on Earth at the same time. But here is the interesting part. She pointed to a spike in the diagram. Their signal interacted strangely with Earth's natural electromagnetic field. A general from the European Federation frowned. "What do you mean, interacted strangely?" Mina smiled. "I mean it did not work properly. Look at these readings. When their signal passed through our atmosphere, it lost nearly 30% of its power. Their technology is advanced, yes, but it is not designed for our planet. Our electromagnetic field is unusually strong. It interferes with their systems." The room went quiet. People looked at each other with hope in their eyes. Commander Tay stepped forward. "Are you saying we have a natural defense against them?" "Not exactly," Mina said. "But I'm saying that we have something they did not expect. And if we can find a way to use our electromagnetic field as a weapon, we might be able to disrupt their technology." An engineer named Dohan raised his hand. He was young, barely 30, but he had designed some of the most advanced systems on the planet. "I have been thinking about this," he said. "If we can build a device that amplifies our planet's electromagnetic signature, we could create a pulse, a wave that would spread across the entire solar system. It would fry their electronics. Their ships would go dark. How long would it take to build such a device?" Tay asked. Duhan hesitated. "With unlimited resources and every engineer on Earth working together? Maybe 5 days." "We have 6, Tay said. "Get started." The room burst into activity. People formed teams. Plans were drawn up. Resources were gathered from every corner of the planet. For the first time since the alien message arrived, humanity was not just afraid. Humanity was working, but Tay knew that a weapon was not enough. They needed more than a way to fight. They needed a way to survive whatever came next. He pulled Ambassador Yuna aside. She had been sitting in the back of the room, watching and listening. Her face was calm, but Tay could see the weight of responsibility in her eyes. "The pulse will buy us time," Tay said quietly. "But if we use it, we will make them angry. They will come back with more ships. More weapons. We need a plan for after." Yuna nodded. "I know. I have been thinking about that. And?" Yuna looked at him. "Tell me, Commander." What do you know about the colony ships? Tay frowned. The colony ships? Those were launched over 100 years ago. They were supposed to find new worlds for humans to live on. But we lost contact with them decades ago. Everyone assumed they failed. Everyone assumed wrong, Una said. I have been going through old government files. Classified documents that were buried and forgotten. The colony ships did not fail. They succeeded. 12 of them reached habitable planets. 12 human colonies exist out there in the galaxy, hidden and forgotten. Tay stared at her. Are you sure? Positive? The colonies stopped communicating because they were afraid of being found. They knew there were other species in the galaxy. They knew those species might not be friendly. So they went silent. They hid. They survived. But how does this help us now? Una's eyes gleamed. The electromagnetic pulse that Dr. Mina is building. What if we used it to do more than just disrupt alien technology? What if we used it to send a message? A signal that only humans would recognize. A signal that would reach every corner of the galaxy. Tay understood. You want to wake up the colonies. I want to remind them that they are not alone, Una said. I want to show the galaxy that humanity is bigger than one small planet. We are everywhere. We have been spreading through the stars for a century, quiet and patient. And now it is time to stand together. Say was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. It was a rare thing, that smile. His soldiers had only seen it a handful of times, usually before a battle they were not supposed to win. I will talk to Dr. Mina, he said. We will make this work. Una put her hand on his shoulder. Thank you, Commander, for believing. I have been a soldier my whole life, Tay said. I have seen humans do impossible things. We are not a species that gives up. We are a species that finds a way. He walked back to the main hall, where the teams were already working. The sound of keyboards and machines filled the air. People shouted instructions and shared ideas. The energy was electric, almost alive. High above, the alien fleet waited. Commander Vorath sent scouts to monitor the planet's surface. He saw the humans gathering in their underground bunkers. He saw them building something, though he could not tell what. His advisors told him not to worry. Humans were primitive. Whatever they were building could not possibly threaten the might of the Galactic Council. But Vorath remembered the look in Ambassador Una's eyes. He remembered her smile, and he ordered his fleet to move closer, just in case. On Earth, the work continued. Day and night, humans labored together. Scientists who had once competed now shared their discoveries freely. Soldiers who had once fought on opposite sides now stood shoulder to shoulder. Engineers who had never met worked as if they had known each other their whole lives. Something was happening. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Humanity was waking up, and when it finally opened its eyes, the stars themselves would tremble. The message came at exactly midnight, Earth time. Every screen on the planet flickered. Every radio crackled. Every device that could receive a signal suddenly displayed the same image, a creature with pale blue skin. 6 eyes arranged in a circle on its face, and a mouth that did not move when it spoke. People of Earth, the voice said. It was cold and mechanical, translated into every human language at once. This is High Commander Vorath of the Galactic Council. You have been watched. You have been judged. And you have been found unworthy of independence. In Seoul, Ambassador Una stood in the emergency command center beneath the city. She was 43 years old, with sharp eyes and steady hands. She had spent 20 years negotiating trade deals and peace treaties between nations. But nothing had prepared her for this. The alien continued speaking. Your species is young, violent, unpredictable. You have developed weapons capable of destroying your own world. Yet, You lack the wisdom to use them responsibly. The Galactic Council has decided that Earth must be placed under protection. You will surrender your military forces. You will accept our governance. You will do this within 30 planetary cycles, or we will reduce your world to ash. The transmission ended. The screens went dark. Una looked around the room. Generals and scientists and politicians stood frozen, their faces pale with fear. The president of the World Council, an old man named Director Quan, sat in his chair with his head in his hands. 30 days, he whispered. They gave us 30 days. Una walked to the center of the room. Her heels clicked against the metal floor. Sir, she said, her voice calm and clear. I need to address them. Director Quan looked up. Address them? The aliens? Una, did you not hear what they said? They will destroy us. They will try, Una said. But they made a mistake. They think we are afraid. They think we will break. They do not know humans very well. She turned to the communications officer, a young man named June. He was barely 25, fresh out of the academy, and his hands were shaking as he worked the controls. June, Una said gently, can you open a channel to their ship? June nodded quickly. Yes, Ambassador. Their frequency is still active. They are waiting for our response. Good. Open it. The screen flickered back to life. High Commander Vorath appeared again, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. Behind him, Una could see the bridge of his ship. It was vast and dark, filled with other aliens of different species. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no bodies at all, just floating lights that moved with purpose. Ambassador Una, Vorath said. His voice carried a hint of surprise. You respond quickly. Have you already convinced your leaders to surrender? Una smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of someone who had faced impossible odds before and won. High Commander, she said, I have a request. We need time to consult with our people. 1 week. That is all I ask. Vorath's eyes narrowed. You seek to delay, to build weapons, to prepare for war. I seek to talk, Una said. That is what humans do. We talk, we argue, we debate, and then we make our choice together. If you want our surrender to mean anything, you must let us choose it freely. Otherwise, you will face resistance. Not from our armies, but from every single human being on this planet. We do not submit easily. That is something you should understand about us. There was silence on the alien bridge. The floating lights whispered to each other in a language Una could not understand. A creature with 4 arms leaned close to Vorath and spoke in his ear. Finally, Vorath nodded. 1 week, he said. You have 1 week to make your choice. But know this, Ambassador. If you choose war, you will lose. We have destroyed civilizations far older and more powerful than yours. Earth is nothing to us. Perhaps, Una said, or perhaps you have never faced anything like us before. She signaled to June, and he cut the transmission. The room erupted in chaos. Generals shouted about defense strategies. Scientists argued about the alien technology they had glimpsed. Politicians demanded evacuation plans and bunker preparations, but Una stood still in the center of it all, thinking. She thought about her grandmother, who had survived a war when she was young. She thought about her father, who had worked in the mines until his hands bled, just to give his family a better life. She thought about every human being who had ever faced impossible odds and refused to give up. Director Quan approached her. His face was gray with exhaustion and fear. Una, he said quietly, what are we going to do? We cannot fight them. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. Their fleet is massive. We saw the scans. They have hundreds of ships in orbit. Yuna looked at him. Sir, do you remember what happened when the first explorers reached the top of the highest mountain? People said it was impossible. The air was too thin. The cold was too deadly. But they did it anyway. Do you know why? Quan shook his head. Because they were human, Yuna said. And humans do not know how to quit. She walked to the large window that looked out over the city. Seoul glittered in the night, millions of lights shining like stars brought down to Earth. Somewhere out there, people were waking up to the news. They were afraid. They were confused. But they were also angry. Yuna could feel it. The anger. The defiance. It hummed in the air like electricity. Call an emergency meeting, she said, turning back to the room. Every nation, every leader, every scientist and soldier and thinker we have. We have 1 week to show the galaxy what humanity is made of. June looked up from his console. Ambassador, what are you planning? Yuna smiled again. This time, it was real. I am planning to give them an answer they will never forget. High above the Earth, Commander Varth watched the blue planet spin slowly beneath his ship. He had conquered 12 worlds. He had crushed rebellions and silenced dissent across 3 star systems. He had never failed, but something about the human ambassador bothered him. She had not begged. She had not wept. She had looked at him with eyes that held no fear. It was strange. It was troubling. And deep in his cold heart, for the first time in centuries, Varth felt something he did not recognize. It was doubt. The device was finished with 12 hours to spare. It sat in the heart of the mountain, a massive machine that hummed with power. Cables as thick as tree trunks ran from it in every direction, connecting the power stations across the planet. Every nuclear reactor, every solar farm, every wind turbine Earth was feeding energy into this 1 point. Dr. Mina stood before the control panel, her hands trembling slightly. She had not slept in 4 days. Her eyes were red and her hair was messy, but her mind was sharp. This was her creation. Her life's work condensed into a single moment. The calibration is complete, she said into her communicator. We are ready to transmit. In the command center, Ambassador Yuna sat before the broadcast station. A camera pointed at her face, ready to send her image across every frequency in the known galaxy. Behind her, Commander Tay stood with his arms crossed, watching the screens that showed the alien fleet still hovering above Earth. Are you sure about this? Tay asked quietly. Yuna looked at him. No, she admitted. But I'm sure that surrender is not an option. Whatever happens next, at least we will face it standing. Director Kwan's voice came through the speakers. He was in another bunker on the opposite side of the world, coordinating with other world leaders. Ambassador, the council is unanimous. Every nation has agreed. We send the message. Yuna nodded. She took a deep breath and straightened her shoulders. Activate the transmission, she said. Deep in the mountain, Mina pressed the button. The machine roared to life. The entire planet shook as energy poured through the device. In cities around the world, lights flickered. People stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. Somehow knowing that something important was happening, the pulse exploded outward from Earth, carrying with it a signal that was unlike anything the galaxy had ever received. It was not a weapon. It was not a threat. It was a voice, Yuna's voice. This message is for the Galactic Council, she began. Her words were translated instantly into every known language in the universe. This message is for every species that has ever looked at Earth and seen weakness. This message is for anyone who has ever doubted what humanity is capable of. On his ship, Commander Varth watched the transmission with growing unease. His screens flickered and sparked. The signal was interfering with his systems, just as Dr. Mina had predicted. You came to our world with threats. Una continued. You told us to kneel or die. You believed we would choose survival over dignity. You were wrong. In the command center, people gathered around the screens. Soldiers, scientists, politicians. They watched their ambassador with tears in their eyes. We do not kneel, Una said. Her voice was strong and clear. We have never knelt. When our ancestors faced the cold, they built fire. When they faced the ocean, they built boats. When they faced the sky, they built wings. You think you are the first obstacle humanity has ever encountered. You are not. You are simply the next. The pulse continued spreading, racing through space at speeds that should have been impossible. It passed through asteroid belts and gas giants. It touched the edges of distant stars, and hidden within the pulse, buried in frequencies that only human technology could detect, was another message. A code. A signal that had been created 100 years ago, designed to be recognized by one group, and one group only. The lost colonies of humanity. We will not surrender our weapons, Una said. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not surrender our future. You have given us an ultimatum, so now we give you one in return. Leave our solar system. Return to your council. And tell them what you have learned today. Vorath slammed his fist against his console. Cut the transmission, he shouted. Block it. His technician scrambled to obey, but it was too late. The message had already reached every corner of the galaxy. Tell them, Una said, that humanity is not afraid. Tell them that we would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. Tell them that if they want Earth, they will have to fight for every inch of it. And tell them this. She leaned forward, her eyes burning with a fire that had been passed down through countless generations of survivors and fighters and dreamers. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And very soon you will understand exactly what that means. The transmission ended. For a moment, there was silence across the galaxy. Ships froze in their orbits. Councils paused their debates. Billions of beings on thousands of worlds stared at their screens, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. A young species. A primitive species. A species that should have been trembling in fear. And instead, they had declared war on the most powerful alliance in the known universe. On Earth, the celebration was immediate. People poured into the streets, cheering and crying. They did not know what would happen next. They did not know if they would survive. But for the first time in a week, they felt something they had almost forgotten. Hope. In the command center. Commander Tay put his hand on Una's shoulder. That was one hell of a speech, he said. Una smiled weakly. Let us hope it was worth it. It will be, said a new voice. They turned. Dr. Mina had entered the room, holding a tablet. Her face was pale, but her eyes were wide with wonder. The hidden signal, she said. The one we buried in the pulse. It is working. What do you mean? Una asked. Mina held up her tablet. On the screen, points of light were appearing across a map of the galaxy. One by one, like stars waking from a long sleep. The colonies, Mina whispered. They are responding. Una stared at the screen. 12 lights. 12 worlds. 12 groups of humans who had been hiding in silence for 100 years. And now they were answering the call. How? Tay asked. How did they survive out there alone? They are human, Una said simply. That is what we do. We survive. We adapt. We grow. And when we are needed, we come together. High above, Vorath watched the same data on his screens. His advisors were panicking. They had believed Earth was isolated, vulnerable, and easy target. But the signal that was spreading through the galaxy told a different story. Humanity was not one world. Humanity was many, and they had just woken up. Vorath stared at the blue. planet below him. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had only heard about in ancient stories. Fear. Real. Genuine fear. Because he was beginning to understand that his ultimatum had not broken humanity. It united them. The first ship appeared 3 days later. It emerged from the darkness beyond Neptune, a vessel unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever seen. It was not sleek or elegant like their own ships. It was rough and practical, covered in patches and repairs from a century of hard travel. But it was massive, nearly twice the size of Varath's flagship, and it was human. Captain Suho stood on the bridge, looking at the blue planet on his view screen. He was 62 years old, born on a world called New Dawn, the first human colony to answer Earth's call. His grandfather had been one of the original colonists who left Earth over 100 years ago. Suho had grown up hearing stories about the homeworld, about its blue oceans and green forests. He had never believed he would actually see it. "Captain," said his first officer, a woman named Hana, "the Council fleet has detected us. They are changing formation." Suho nodded slowly. "Let them watch. How many other ships are coming?" Hana checked her console. 17 confirmed. Colonies from New Dawn, Red Haven, Silent Shore, and 5 others. More are on their way, but they are still days out. 17 ships against their hundreds, Suho murmured. "Not great odds." "No, sir," Hana agreed. "But those ships are carrying over 2 million people. 2 million humans who have been waiting for this moment their entire lives." Suho smiled. It was a tired smile, the smile of a man who had spent decades preparing for something he was not sure would ever come. "Open a channel to Earth," he said. "It is time we introduced ourselves." In the command center beneath Seoul, alarms blared as sensors detected the new arrivals. Commander Tae rushed to the main screen, his heart pounding. "What are we looking at?" he demanded. A young officer named Ji-won worked frantically at her console. "Sir, multiple contacts emerging at the edge of the solar system. 18 ships so far. They are not Council design. Then what are they?" Before Ji-won could answer, the screen flickered. A face appeared. It was an older man with weathered skin and gray hair, wearing a uniform that looked vaguely military but did not match any Earth nation. "This is Captain Suho of the New Dawn Fleet," the man said. "We received your signal. We heard your message." He paused, and his eyes glistened with emotion. "We are coming home." Yuna stepped forward, her voice catching in her throat. "Captain Suho, on behalf of all Earth, welcome. We did not know if anyone would hear us." Suho laughed. It was a warm sound, full of relief. "We have been listening for 100 years, Ambassador. We built our entire civilization waiting for this moment. When your pulse reached us, every colony responded within hours. We dropped everything. We gathered our ships, our people, our resources. And we came. How many of you are there?" Tae asked. "In total? Across all 12 colonies?" Suho's expression grew serious. "Over 4 billion, Commander. 4 billion humans, living on worlds throughout the galaxy. We are not as advanced as the Council. Our technology is rough. But we are many. And we are united." The room fell silent. 4 billion. It was a number that seemed impossible. Humanity had believed itself alone, a small civilization on a single planet. But in truth, they had been spreading like seeds in the wind, taking root wherever they landed. High above, Varath received the same information. His advisors brought him report after report, each one more alarming than the last. Human ships were appearing across the galaxy, emerging from hidden bases and secret colonies. They were not attacking, not yet. They were simply gathering and watching. "This is impossible," Varath said, his voice hollow. We scanned this galaxy for centuries. We found no evidence of human expansion. They were hiding, Commander, said one of his officers, a nervous creature with 4 eyes. They designed their colonies to be invisible to our sensors. They built underground. They scattered. They made themselves small and quiet until they were ready. Ready for what? Ready for this. Ready for us. Vorath stared at the tactical display. His fleet still outnumbered the human ships significantly. But more human vessels were arriving every hour. And the ones that had already arrived were not backing down. Sir, said another officer, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. They wish to negotiate. Vorath's eyes narrowed. Negotiate? They are the ones surrounded. They do not seem to think so, sir. On the bridge of his ship, Captain Suho watched the council fleet with calm eyes. Beside him, Hana was coordinating with the other colony ships, organizing them into a defensive formation around Earth. The council is responding to our hail, she reported. Commander Vorath wishes to speak with you. Suho nodded. Put him through. Vorath's image appeared on the screen. He looked older than he had in the original transmission, his 6 eyes heavy with exhaustion and confusion. Captain Suho, Vorath said. You lead these colony ships? I lead the New Dawn contingent, Suho replied. But I do not speak for all of humanity. Ambassador Yuna speaks for Earth. The other colonies have their own leaders. We are many voices, Commander. But today, we speak as one. Then hear me, Vorath said. Your situation has changed, but it has not improved. Yes, you have more ships. Yes, you have more people. But the Galactic Council commands resources beyond your comprehension. We can call upon fleets from 100 worlds. You cannot win this war. Suho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice soft but firm. Commander, let me tell you a story. When my grandfather left Earth, he was 23 years old. His ship was designed to carry 10,000 people to a new world. But something went wrong. Their navigation system failed. They drifted for 11 years before they found a planet they could live on. Vorath frowned. What is the point of this story? The point is that when they landed, they had nothing. No cities, no factories, no infrastructure. They had only themselves. And do you know what they did? What? They built everything from scratch. They carved farms out of alien soil. They built shelters from materials they had never seen before. They raised children who had never known Earth, and they taught those children to dream of the stars. Suho's eyes hardened. We are the descendants of those dreamers, Commander. We have spent 100 years surviving on the edge of the unknown. We have faced challenges you cannot imagine. And we are still here. He leaned forward. So when you tell me we cannot win, I have to ask, do you really understand what you are fighting? Vorath had no answer. On Earth, people watched the standoff unfold on their screens. They saw the colony ships arriving, one after another. They saw the council fleet hesitate, unsure of what to do. They saw Captain Suho and the other colony leaders standing firm, refusing to back down. And they felt something change inside them. For so long, humanity had looked at the stars with wonder and fear. The universe was vast and unknown, full of dangers they could not comprehend. But now they knew the truth. They were not small. They were not weak. They were everywhere, and they were just getting started. Commander. Tay stood beside Ambassador Yuna, watching the screens with quiet pride. Do you think they will attack? He asked. Yuna shook her head slowly. No. I think for the first time in their history, the Galactic Council is afraid. Of us? Yuna smiled. Of what we might become. Above the Earth, the two fleets faced each other in the cold silence of space. Neither moved, neither fired, but everyone knew that the next move would change everything. The standoff lasted 7 days. For 7 days, the Council fleet and the human fleet faced each other in silence. Ships drifted in careful formations, weapons powered but unfired. The entire galaxy watched, waiting to see who would blink first. On the 8th day, Commander Vorath made his decision. He stood on his bridge, surrounded by advisors who urged him to attack. They showed him calculations proving the Council could still win. They reminded him of his duty to the Alliance. They warned him that retreat would make him look weak, but Vorath had not survived for 300 years by ignoring his instincts. And his instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "Open a channel to Ambassador Yuna," he said quietly. His advisors fell silent in shock. "Commander," one of them protested, "you cannot be serious. Negotiating with primitives? The Council is not here," Vorath interrupted. "I am, and I will not throw away my fleet against an enemy I do not understand." He turned to face his crew, his 6 eyes scanning each face. "I have conquered worlds. I have crushed rebellions. But I have never seen anything like these humans. They should be terrified. They should be begging for mercy. Instead, they are smiling. They are sending their children to watch our ships like they are watching a parade." He shook his head slowly. "That is not the behavior of a species that expects to die. That is the behavior of a species that knows something we do not." The channel opened. Ambassador Yuna's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired but calm, the same steady presence she had shown from the very beginning. "Commander Vorath," she said, "have you come to a decision?" Vorath was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy. "Ambassador, I have spent my entire life serving the Galactic Council. I have never questioned their wisdom. But today, I must ask you something. Ask, why did you not attack us?" Vorath's confusion was genuine. "Your pulse disrupted our systems. Your colony ships caught us off guard. You had opportunities. Why did you not take them?" Yuna smiled softly. "Because that is not who we are, Commander." "I do not understand." Yuna stepped closer to the camera. "You came to Earth with threats. You told us to submit or die. You expected us to fight back with the same violence you showed us. But that is your way, not ours. Then what is your way?" "Survival," Yuna said simply. "Growth. Connection. We are a young species, Commander. We have made many mistakes. We have hurt each other and our world in ways we are still learning from. But through all of it, we have discovered one truth. We are stronger together than we are apart." She gestured to the screens behind her, showing images of the colony ships, of Earth cities, of humans working side by side across 100 worlds. "That is why we did not attack. Because we do not want enemies. We want neighbors. We want allies. We want to learn from you and share what we have learned ourselves." Vorath stared at her. In 300 years, he had never heard anything like this. Every species he had encountered had responded to power with power, violence with violence. That was the way of the galaxy. But these humans, "You are offering us peace?" he asked slowly. "I am offering you a choice," Yuna said. "The same choice you offered us. You can continue this war. You can call your reinforcements and try to destroy us. Maybe you will succeed. Maybe you will burn Earth and all our colonies to ash." Her eyes hardened. "But it will cost you. Every ship we destroy, every soldier we kill, every world we defend will weaken the Council. And there are others out there, Commander. Other species who resent your rule. Other civilizations waiting for a chance to rise. If you spend your strength fighting us, how long before they see their opportunity?" Vorath felt a chill run through him. He had never considered this. The Council's power was built on the belief that no one could challenge them. But if the humans proved that resistance was possible, what are your terms? He asked quietly. Yuna's expression softened. Simple ones. Leave our solar system. Return to the Council. Tell them that Earth and its colonies are not enemies, but they are not subjects either. We will not interfere with your affairs, and you will not interfere with ours. The Council will never accept this. Then let them come themselves, Una said. Let them see what we have built. Let them understand that humanity is not a threat to be eliminated, but a partner to be respected. She paused, then added gently, "We are offering you a way out, Commander. A way to end this without more death. Take it." Varth looked at his crew. He looked at the human ships surrounding his fleet. He looked at the blue planet spinning slowly beneath him, full of billions of lives that refused to surrender. And he made his choice. "Very well," he said. "I will withdraw my fleet. I will bring your message to the Council. But I make no promises about what they will decide. I expect nothing more," Una said. "Thank you, Commander." The transmission ended. 1 hour later, the Council fleet began to move. Ship by ship, they turned away from Earth and accelerated toward the edge of the solar system. The human fleet watched them go, weapons still ready, but no one fired a single shot. On Earth, the celebrations lasted for weeks. People danced in the streets. Families embraced. Strangers hugged and laughed and cried together. For the first time in human history, the entire species celebrated as one. But in the command center, Ambassador Una knew that the work was just beginning. She sat with Commander Tay, Captain Suho, and Dr. Mina, planning the next steps. The colonies needed to be reconnected with Earth. Trade routes needed to be established. Defenses needed to be built in case the Council returned. "Do you think they will come back?" Suho asked. Una nodded. "Eventually. The Council does not like being challenged. They will spend years debating and arguing, but someday they will decide to test us again. And when they do?" Una smiled. "When they do, we will be ready. Not just with ships and weapons, but with something stronger." She looked around the table at her friends, her allies, her family. "We will be ready with the same thing that got us through this, each other." Months passed. Then years. Earth and the colonies grew closer, sharing technology and resources and ideas. Human ships began to explore beyond their own territories, making contact with other species who had been conquered by the Council. Some of them were afraid of humans. Others were curious. A few became friends. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, carefully, but surely dot, and at the center of it all, on a small blue planet orbiting an ordinary yellow star, humanity continued to do what it had always done. It survived. It adapted. It grew. And it dreamed of the stars. Commander Varth lived for another 50 years. He spent most of that time in quiet retirement, watching the humans from afar. He saw them build stations and ships. He saw them welcome species that the Council had abandoned. He saw them create something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. On his deathbed, surrounded by his descendants, he was asked what he remembered most about the humans. He thought for a long time. Then he smiled, a rare and gentle expression on his alien face. "They were not afraid," he said. "In all my years of conquest, I never met a species that was not afraid. But the humans, they looked at the end of their world and refused to break." He closed his eyes. "That is why I knew we could not defeat them. You cannot destroy something that refuses to fear death. You can only learn to live beside it." His last words echoed through history, passed down through generations. And somewhere, far across the galaxy, humans heard them and smiled. They had shaken the stars. And they were only getting started.